and welcome to the Comic Conspiracy episode 16. My name is Ryan Higgins.
And I'm Brock Sager.
Congratulations, Brock. How's it going?
It's going.
Excellent. Another episode time. It's that same bat date.
Is it going to be a short
podcast channel?
Podcast?
No, I don't know. Maybe. I assume it'll be an average length podcast. So,
do we have an average length on this podcast?
Somewhere between 45 minutes and an hour and a half. Somewhere in that range. I don't think we've gone shorter or longer. So.
Wouldn't it be like an hour and 10 minutes?
Yeah, that sounds about right. What do we have this week? We have some stuff to talk about, some reviews. No reviews. Some picks, some news, some emails to read.
Some excitement about Comic-Con.
Yeah, whatever.
Now, we're supposed to call it Comic-Con or San Diego Con?
It is officially called... Hold on, let me find the name here.
The Wizard All Men's Magazine.
No. It is officially called Comic-Con International San Diego.
Comic-Con International.
Yeah, Comic-Con International San Diego. If I'm correct, that is the official...
So SIDS?
Yes, Comic-Con International San Diego 2011.
SIST?
Sure.
I don't know.
That is the official name.
I think everyone just calls it Comic-Con.
Everyone calls it SDCC, yeah.
SDCC?
San Diego Comic-Con.
But we're international with this shit.
Whatever.
Yeah, true.
So I think you got an email there. You want to read an email?
Sure.
Do you want me to read an email?
I can read email.
Okay.
That's a brilliant thing.
Read an email.
This is from Mike. I'm not even going to start. Mike M. Because we suck at pronouncing last names. So he says, have either of you gone to or heard of ComicVine.com? This is what really got me into comics. I have been tangentially aware of them, but never really read them or stuff until I came across these fine folks. Thanks to Google search, y'all should check it out. I'm actually going to be getting into DC with the reboot mainly. Been a Marvel guy thanks to the movies, and I'm loving Uncanny X-Force and the X-Men stuff. As far as DC stuff, I've read Sinestro Corps and Blackest Night and a couple of Batman trades, like Long Halloween, but other DC stuff, not so much. What's the main differences between the two worlds from characters to storytelling? Thanks, Mike.
Well, first, ComicVine. I haven't used ComicVine in a long time. It was kind of almost like a weird Facebook, MySpace style thing for comics. But it looks like it's a lot different of a website now, so I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking of another site, but ComicVine, I'm pretty sure was the site that I used to use. They have lots of news stories, kind of a lot of community stuff, talk about a lot of comics. They do like different news bits on the front, lots of reviews and staff picks and everything like that, or reader fan picks or whatever for the different weekend. It looks cool. I mean, there's a lot of sites similar to this. There's lots of forums out there. So, yeah, ComicVine. I'm almost positive this is the same site I used, but this seems a lot different than the one I used. So,
I've never actually used it.
Yeah.
I think I've been to it in searches for stuff.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't really know.
Because I think they also have a pretty big wiki.
Yeah, I think they have a lot of.
Because looking at this looks similar to some of the other sites I've used, not just regular Wikipedia. So, yeah, I'm sure I've been here. Oh, I think it's part of Whiskey, which has Giant Bomb and Anime Vice. I don't know what that is. Giant Bomb is one of the big, was, I'm not sure how much now, but one of the big video game sites. And so, interesting. Yes, I have not been here in a very, very long time, so I may have to check that out. As far as the difference between Marvel and DC, that's a big question. Brock, what's your take on this? I mean, I got a take, but I want to hear.
You go first.
Okay.
DC
one sucks
horror?
and the other's good. No. No, totally not where I was going with that. I think one of the complaints about DC a lot of the time is that they're kind of, less so now, but the big complaint always used to be that it was sort of like the old comic people. It was like, for your father read Superman, you read X-Men.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously in modern, the more recent times and more modern day, I don't see that quite as much. I mean, I think they're both pretty much the same. Whether you have 70 years of stories or 50 years of stories, you're both old, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's really no difference at this point. I think one of the reasons I tend to gravitate more towards the DC than Marvel is they're willing to do things, and we'll actually talk about this especially a lot in the next few months. They're willing to do things like Justice League Dark and Hellblazer and Swamp Thing, and they're willing to do some horror books and science fiction books. Marvel did. I mean, back in the 70s, you had a lot of horror and science fiction. You had a lot of giant monster books. I mean, they did other stuff, but nowadays Marvel is, with little exception, like 100% superhero, or they do ththings like the Dark Tower comics, or
Criminal.
Well, but that's all creator-owned. That's like
that's the creator-owned Icon label.
Yeah, I'll take Vertigo and Icon and sort of say it's a wash, but books like, you don't have a Sandman or a Swamp Thing or a John Constantine in the Marvel universe.
No.
You have Sleepwalker and Man-Thing, and while Sleepwalker was long credited as Sandman done right by Marvel in the 90s, I remember that was there. That was what one of the editors had said about Sleepwalker at the time, which I love Sleepwalker. Okay, he's one of my bad 90s comics. I love him. But I just don't think Marvel has that sort of level. So if you like stuff other than superheroes, DC has a lot to offer. A lot of horror, a lot of science fiction, a lot of fantasy. Well, not so much fantasy. And what's funny is that, especially these days, I think Marvel and DC both are very good about having what I've kind of referenced before as this sort of soft or loose continuity where the origin matters, what happened last issue matters, but everything else is kind of eh. DC used to have no continuity, and then I felt they'd go into a very strict continuity, especially after Crisis. Marvel had always been a lot more fluid and kind of just, it changed when it changed, and we don't really worry about it. I wonder if post Flashpoint, if that will be a little bit more of a case with DC, that they're willing to sort of let their continuity be a little more freeform. It frees up the writers and the creators to do stuff and not have to worry about stuff. But for the most part, DC's been like that anyway.
Yeah.
So, have you read Avengers vs. JLA?
No.
You ever read that?
No, I haven't read that yet.
It was that Kurt Busiek and George Perez?
Yeah.
There's a great line in there where Flash comes over and he's like, people are like, oh, you're just a weird mutant freak. And he's like, what the hell? Like, we don't have anything like this on the DC Earth. It's kind of one of those points where it's kind of interesting because Marvel is always maybe a little more realistic, but DC, with guys like Grant Morrison, especially now, they're willing to go totally out to left field. They're willing to do these giant, crazy cosmic stories, which Marvel really shies away from.
Yeah.
You'll get things like the FF or the Infinity Gauntlet, but, for the most part, they tend to shy away from these giant cosmic, earth-shattering events and tend to be a little more focused. You'll have the Shi'ar Wars, Skrull Kree War and stuff like that, but even that, they tend to be a little more down to earth. Maybe that's why the movies work a little bit better too, except for Batman. And Batman's a very down to earth character. So Green Lantern, a little bit of a hard sell. Superman, a little bit of a hard sell to a modern audience. So, Brock,
my take on it is, I think the difference is comes across as what they're geared towards. I've always, when I was a kid, I looked at Marvel. Because you had Spider-Man, you had Wolverine, you had Captain America.
Well, it's funny, not to totally interrupt you for a second.
Totally
but,
interrupt.
It's a really good point. I think kids can gravitate towards Superman, young kids, but when you start to hit those teenage years, you go Marvel. But when you get like 16, 17, 18, I know what happened to me is I went back to DC because of Vertigo and Swamp Thing and Sandman and these titles. So I wonder if there's a bit of that where the younger gears towards DC, and then when you're kind of a teenager, you go more Marvel, and then when you're adult, you go more DC. I do notice our customer base tends to be very heavy DC, and a lot of them grew up Marvel guys. So it's interesting to see how they've sort of meandered around from Marvel to DC as they've gotten older. So I don't know. Something to think about. But go ahead. Sorry.
Well, as I was saying, and you pretty much said, I think kids can relate a little bit more, like you said, to Marvel being more of a realistic type of characters. You have Peter Parker, who's, a high school student who gets bitten by a radioactive spider.
Right.
He's going through, Stan Lee quoted it in Mallrats saying, he just put his own emotions into these characters. And I think that's a big sell for Marvel, especially for, younger audiences, is that they can relate to it more. Whereas, with DC, I mean, if you get away from Superman, it's kind of hard for kids to get into Batman because Batman's solving crimes and doing all this detective work, and there's all this.
That may be one reason, again, why I sort of gravitate more towards DC. My interest in reading about Peter Parker is pretty non-existent. My interest in reading about millionaire Bruce Wayne or aliens from other planets and giant sci-fi and fantasy stuff is a lot stronger because, again, at the end of the day, the stuff at Marvel is more realistic, but that's not what I'm looking for in comic books most of the time.
And that's the thing is growing up, I think that kids are looking for more realistic because they're just learning the ropes. They're trying to figure everything out.
Sure.
You jump to outer space where, the Green Lantern's helping, some group of aliens get freed from being slaves. It doesn't really transfer the same way as, seeing, Peter Parker save Spider-Man save a group of people that are being trafficked.
Yeah. I mean, there is all the comic books, all the great comic book stories do comment on the human condition and on humanity in general, regardless of, Superman is a great commentary on immigration and just, how it feels to be an outsider, even if you are good. The most powerful person on earth, you're still always going to be an outsider. But I like to, but not every book is like that. And I mean, I like it to a degree, but I don't like getting hit over the head with it. I mean, sometimes I just want to see a bunch of guys fight it out. Sometimes, there are definitely good stories, but it kind of goes back and forth. The X-Men is, I've never been a huge X-Men fan, but I have to admit they've actually had some decent books recently.
Yeah.
But it seems like I've seen the same story over and over. It's like, yes, you're being repressed. Yes, people are out to kill you. Like, I get it. Like, I felt Grant Morrison. I hate to continuously go back to Grant Morrison.
No, you don't. You love saying his name.
I love saying his name. I just wish I didn't have to keep using him as an example. He took the X-Men to the next level. He made them an entire race. They took up, there were 4 or 5 million of them. They were all over the place, and I love that, and I thought that was a great concept, and you really got the feeling that these guys were, they were basically a whole new race of people on Earth. They were, and then, going back to just 200 mutants, I'm like, okay, I get it. Now they're more special, but we've been here so many times.
I think what you're saying is the problem, and I've seen this with Marvel, is Marvel tends to rehash stories.
Well, DC does too.
DC does too.
They both do all the times.
But Marvel seems to rehash the same story over and over again. Like, if you take the X-Men, for example, you have not only the humans against them, you have the religious aspect of the humans against them.
Well, in this most recent issue of... Did you read X-Men Schism this week?
No, I have not read Schism.
I mean, it's basically, oh, look, here come the humans with the Sentinels again. It's like...
Yeah.
So, and this is why I'm saying, this is why comics face a very unique problem these last decade or two and will into the future. The old standard for comics where people read for a few years and then stopped reading. Now the standard for comics is people read for decades, coming up with new stories. I mean, you can't have these characters age, right? At this point, unless they want to just say, screw it, we're just going to have characters age continuously, and we'll just have new people and new characters. We know they're not going to do that.
Yeah.
Superman as Clark Kent is Kal-El. It's too powerful a brand. We're not going to get rid of that. So unless we're going to reboot every 10 years, we're basically going to get the same stories every couple of years. Every writer wants to put his own spin or her own spin on the classic stories. I'm fine with it as long as there's enough time in between, but you have to get, at this point, people that have read stories about the X-Men being attacked by Sentinels. It's about the 5th or 6th time this has been a major event, not just a regular event or a standard story. But at this point, you're talking multiple times this has happened over the last 30 years. And there are plenty of people in my shop and every shop over the country that have been reading X-Men for 30-plus years. And I've been reading them for 20 years. And, oh, hey, I forgot, July. This is my 20th anniversary of reading comic books. I think I talked about it a couple weeks ago, but yeah, we are officially 20 years of me reading comics. So I've read these stories 5-6 times at this point. So, hey.
Yeah, it's... I don't know. It's one of those things where when I was a kid, granted, I got DC, Batman and the Outsiders, but that was a number one that I could pick up for a reasonable price. And, it looked cool. But I did tend to read more Marvel. I think that's just because those characters are more relatable to a younger audience.
Yeah.
But as I grew older, I gravitated more towards Vertigo, more towards, intellectual stories, like Sandman and all that stuff. So I think in general, the difference between DC and Marvel is that Marvel has, like you said, they're more down to earth in what's going on.
Sure.
DC is more universal in a sense of what's going on. They deal with stuff on Earth. There's crises all the time.
Sure.
But DC will go out into outer space. DC will go to another galaxy and have a story.
They do that. They do it with Marvel too.
They do it with Marvel, but with the recent cutting of Nova and Guardians of the Galaxy, and the X-Men have kind of landed on Earth and doing their own thing. We really haven't branched out.
You don't see it quite as much
to space very much. And the Annihilators was the last time we did that. But I felt even reading the Annihilators, we were kind of, there was really nothing behind it because you're just seeing them fight for another world.
Right.
It's not necessarily like you have with like Green Lantern or Legion, where they're not doing stuff on Earth all the time. They're at different planets doing stuff. They're going to different places. They're battling in space. They're battling on different planets. It's a lot of stuff is going on instead of kind of this centralized, here's a little story, we're telling it, and we're done.
Yeah.
I think that both Marvel and DC suffer from, repetitive, rehashed stories.
Sure.
And, to an audience, like you said, of reading a couple of years, that's okay. But to an audience that's reading for decades, I think that's why a lot of people stop reading books, cut books, especially when the economy's down. It's like, well, I've already read this.
Yeah.
I don't need to read it again. So I don't think we completely explained a difference between Marvel and DC.
This is a conversation that can go on forever.
Yeah,
so.
True.
We'll bring this back up later.
All right. So you have an email?
I got an email. Let's look at this here. It's from Sebastian from London. Blimey.
Does it actually say blimey?
No.
Oh, God.
He does say from bloody reigning England, though.
Nice.
It says, first of all, I would like to say thank you for filling many hours of boring traveling to and from work with your entertaining and informative show. He must be listening to some other show because we are neither entertaining nor informative.
But dude, you always belittle us. Why do you do that?
I just belittle you.
No, you belittle us. You belittle me more than us. But...
Okay, we may be entertaining, but I don't think we're informative. Oh, speaking of getting so many facts wrong, last week's episode, which
we're not even going to get the email yet.
Yeah, speaking of last week's episode, we were making fun of a new Iron Fist series. Apparently, it's not a new Iron Fist series. I'm going to get this out of the way right now. It's actually one of many promos for what Rich Johnson from Bleeding Cool is saying is a new Defenders series by Matt Fraction and Terry Dodson, including, let me see.
Doctor Strange.
It's Doctor Strange.
Red
She-Hulk. Who else is on the team?
And
Silver Surfer. Iron Fist. And I thought there was another character.
There was a fifth character? I thought there was only 4 in the Defenders.
Fighting the Black Hulk.
What?
Black Hulk.
There's a Black Hulk?
I don't know.
Blok?
That's new. Blok? That's news to me. I haven't been reading the Hulk book. I tried.
I can't.
I can't. I go back every couple issues and I'm just like, Jeff
I don't
Parker,
even do that.
If for some reason you're listening to this podcast, I really like your writing, but I just don't like the books you write. I can't.
Damn.
I hate the Red Hulk.
If he sees you at the con, he listens to this and punches you in the face.
That's fine.
I want pictures.
That's fine. I think he's a great writer. My interest in Red Hulk is beyond nothing.
Well, it's not his character. Didn't Loeb create Red Hulk?
Yeah, I hate Loeb too. Well, I don't hate Loeb. I hate Loeb for creating Red Hulk. Yeah. Well, anyway, okay. I used to collect trading cards back in 1994 and started a small comic book collection around that time. Man, I'm totally not even going to get through this episode. That is actually my secret origin is, besides the Fantastic Four cartoon, from the 60s, which I was clearly not alive during the 60s when it was
clearly.
on. But during the 80s, when they ran the Hanna-Barbera World of Super Adventure featuring the Fantastic Four, Herculoids, and many other shows I don't remember, the Marvel trading cards were totally how I got in the comics. Around
me too. Those yellow bordered.
Yeah,
I collected those too.
And that's why I liked Marvel so much, because I was like, Marvel's awesome, because I had trading cards.
They had trading cards, and they gave you information on the characters.
Yeah,
it was like, boom, right there.
Going back through those cards, too, it's so funny, because I'm like, man, none of these characters are still... obviously the big characters, but there's all these other characters, and I'm like, wow, remember when they were popular? Yeah, not anymore. Okay, go back to the email. However, life took over and my love for comics was somewhat neglected, and I ended up losing all my comics, but I've still got thousands of trading cards in perfect condition. Over the last months, I've rekindled my love for all things comic-related and comprised a wish list for myself, based on your recommendations, of graphic novels that I'm going to buy in the near future. I've recently completed Green Lantern Rebirth, Blackest Night, Superman Earth 1, Arkham Asylum, and have just finished The Flash Rebirth, which I thoroughly enjoyed. I was wondering if there are any graphic novel titles I should definitely get that are based on the following characters. Aquaman, Atom, Firestorm, and Deadpool. Your help will be much appreciated. Keep up good work and keep doing what you guys are doing because it's needed. I actually have a few suggestions for these. I
have none. So
Cool.
take the floor because
I got it.
All of those characters to me are okay.
I got it. Adam, you have two places to start. I mean, obviously, besides all the showcase presents, which are the black and white reprints, which are always fun to go back and read. For Adam, I would start with Sword of the Atom, which was a very well-received miniseries by Gil Kane back in the, early 80s, I think. It's a quick look on Amazon here is showing that it's not currently in print, but you should be able to find this book pretty cheap, and I think Brock is grabbing a copy. Yes, we still have a copy on the shelf, so
if you want to order it,
if you're not able to find it, I have a copy here still. I mean, it's not like it's expensively out of print. It's like cheap, but like still, you may have a hard time finding it. Basically, the Atom gets shrunk down. Well, he doesn't get shrunk down. That's his whole power, is he shrinks down. And he kind of goes to this fantasy world. So it's Atom, who's normally like this kind of scientific hero, but he's kind of out of his element. He's in this like little fantasy world that he's, rescuing princesses and doing all this stuff and fighting with a sword. It's a pretty fun book. I haven't read it in years. I should go back and reread that. That's a cool. That's a cool book. Aquaman. For the Atom, I should also say there's also a number of collections by Gail Simone, who did the Ryan Choi Atom. Those are all pretty cool. Ryan Choi, spoiler alert, died a little while into it, a little later, but he is, there's a handful of, it's called the All New Atom.
Yeah, the All New Atom. I don't know the reading order, but the trades are Small Wonder, Future/Past, and The Hunt for Ray Palmer.
Cool.
Which The Hunt for Ray Palmer is connected to 50 or Countdown?
Yeah, Countdown.
Countdown.
Yeah, it's one of the Countdown crossovers. For Aquaman, again, there's a handful of collections. Some are better than others. Of a real recent trade, I would select Death of the Prince. It's a collection of the Jim Aparo Aquaman books from mid-'70s. This is actually when you kind of get into Black Manta. You really get into Black Manta's background. It's actually it's called Death of the Prince. So, big spoiler alert: Aquaman's son gets killed by Black Manta. This is an old story, though, so hopefully I'm not spoiling something from 30 years ago. This is just released in trade paperback. Very cool. Good to see this is actually in print. It's one of these kind of often talked about, but probably rarely read comics. So I've not read it myself. So I would like to read this at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Firestorm coming up in a couple months. There's Firestorm the Nuclear Man, which is actually the very first trade of the original Firestorm. Well, it was an ongoing series, but it canceled very early, and then they brought it back later as an ongoing book. So this is, I believe, the original miniseries from 1978. I don't believe it collects any of the later ongoing, but it is by Jerry Conway and Al Milgrom. This is sort of the setup for it. All these books are old books. You have to be able to accept how they are. But they're fun.
Yeah, it's going back and reading Justice League International versus reading current stuff. You have to. You're not going to have as much detail. You're not going to have these great panels of shit. That are.
I mean, some of them disagree.
Some of them are fantastic, but a lot of them are very plain. There's not too much detail. Hold on.
You say plain, but you're talking like Jim Aparo, and these are some great artists.
No,
but again, they are from their time.
Yeah, it's from their time. So the writing is different. The flow of the book is different.
Of course.
There's a lot more exposition than in a current comic book.
Well, what I was going to say is, if you don't want to read the old stuff, at least for Aquaman and Firestorm, you have brand new books coming out in September. You have Aquaman by Jeff Johns and Ivan Rice, and then you have Firestorm by Gail Simone and Ethan Van Sciver, and Yardley Sinar, I believe, is doing the art. Adam does not have a book coming out, but I'm sure he will be popping up in a number of other titles. So.
He might pop up in DC Comics Presents?
Possibly. I mean, the first arc is Dead Man, but it wouldn't surprise me if Adam popped. That seems like a book for Adam.
Yeah.
As far as Deadpool, you were living in the glorious age of glorious Deadpool-ness if you're a Deadpool fan. There's like 4 or 5 Deadpool classic collections out right now, which collect all the original stuff from New Mutants and then his ongoing title from the 90s.
Well, the mini and then the ongoing.
Right. They have all the Deadpool books from the current arcs are in print. They have hardcover. I mean, there's so many Deadpools.
There's also the Deadpool cables.
Right. They've done new printings on Deadpool Cable, which was a team-up book from a handful of years ago. I would say, again, your best bets would be pick up the Deadpool Classics, because that reprints his original material, and then maybe pick up the Deadpool ongoing book, which is up to volume 7 or 8 now. They should all be readily available. You should be able to find them at most stores. Yeah. Again, I'm not a huge Deadpool fan, but he definitely is a very popular character with lots of people that love Deadpool. Maybe I'll get my friend Jeff on here, who the only comics he read is Deadpool and Knights of the Dinner Table.
Please don't. I really don't want to record an episode that smells like bacon.
He does love him some bacon.
Oh, Jesus.
All right. Well, we kind of already ruined one of our news stories in that opening segment there, which was we were talking about the All New Defenders book, which is rumored to be launching at San Diego Comic-Con.
Yes, and I think the biggest problem, which technically we weren't misinformed, because the first poster was an Iron Fist poster. If they'd come out with at least like 2 Doctor Strange first, if it's in you, I would have believed it a little bit more.
So you put the Eye of Agamotto inside you?
Yeah, it's... Yeah. But Iron Fist, come on.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of big news stories coming out of San Diego. One, DC has kind of preempted their big news story by posting the official cover for Action Comics #1, which is coming out in September by Grant Morrison and Rags-Morales.
Say it again. Say his name again, because I know you want to.
Grant Morrison. I actually love Rags-Morales. He's a fantastic
he's a great artist.
His stuff on Identity Crisis was great, and then he did nothing else after that for years. He did some kind of weird side books, and he did first what was it, the Batman Spirit, Doc Savage First Wave, which was it was okay. So I'm glad that he's on Action. That's a book he deserves, a big book like Action Comics by Grant Morrison. Now, this cover, I'll probably make this our cover image for this episode. You can see it online. You can see it on our website. Getting a lot of people talking. Grant Morrison is quoted as saying, "We felt it was time for the big 21st adventures." We felt it was time for the big adventures of a 21st century Paul Bunyan who fights for the weak and downtrodden against bullies of all kind, from robot invaders to crime lords to corrupt city officials. Now, whatever your name is, Brock. I don't know if I'm not sure how much old Superman books you've read. If you read any of those Superman classics, or you read any of the.
No, I haven't gone back and read any of the really old stuff.
So I've read a handful.
I've read Action Comics #1 at some point.
I mean, this is sort of going back to the original concept of Superman.
Yes, it does look like Paul Bunyan.
Well, and to give some context for the people that hadn't seen this cover yet, the original cover was sort of a half shot of Action Comics #1 where he's lifting the car over his head, but you don't see, you just see his legs and chest. You don't really see the rest of the shot. And he's wearing jeans and a blue Superman t-shirt, and he's got this kind of short cape on, which the old Superman, I mean, again, this is going back to sort of the original take on the character. The original Superman had a short cape.
He had a Shazam size, a little bit longer than Shazam.
Yeah, while he was not wearing jeans and boots, his old costume was not like the costume he wears in modern
tights.
day.
It was tights and underwear and boots.
Right. He was a circus strongman outfit.
Exactly.
I mean, this is what the original costume was for Superman. It was like that for quite some time until they sort of adapted it a little bit into the 40s and 50s. They sort of changed it up a bit, changed the shield and everything. So going back to make a modern take on the classic outfit, I'm fine with this. This is a year one story. It's going to be 5 issues, then we're going to get him into the modern day. Or maybe it won't. I mean, maybe Grant Morrison will write this origin of the DC Universe for years. I mean, I don't know. Because Action Comics, for those that don't know, does not take place in the quote-unquote modern day. It takes place 5-10 years ago when Superman was the very first superhuman on Earth. And I can't hate on this cover. I think it's a cool idea.
I'm not hating on the cover. You always insinuate that I'm hating. I'm just pointing out little things that people are probably going to notice.
Sure.
Like the fact that he's wearing a Target vintage Superman shirt that's too tight for him. The fact that he's wearing jeans rolled up like he's a 50s greaser. The fact that he's wearing boots that are most likely steel-toe work boots. And the fact that the cape looks like he took it from Crypto.
I see no problem with any of this. He's a working farm boy.
No, I understand what they're going for.
I don't know how much more of this you read, but there's a couple of things that changed. Now there is something that does make me possibly mad about this, which I'll get into this in a second.
Please.
Hold on, I'll get into this in a second. But the new take on Superman, right, is that Ma and Pa Kent have both died.
Mm-hmm.
So Ma and Pa Kent are dead. He leaves Smallville at the age of 18. So he is, for all intents and purposes,
an orphan again.
An orphan kid.
Again.
Right. He was an orphan through 85. Ma and Pa Kent were dead. They came in, they came out. There were points, the kind of stories where they were written in, but it wasn't until Crisis on Infinite Earths when John Byrne officially brought back Ma and Pa Kent as being alive.
Mm-hmm.
They killed Pa Kent a couple years ago during the Brainiac story arc.
Which was really, really under... it was below the radar.
Very,
when
I think so.
He died, there was really nobody really talked about it, nothing. Yeah. So I was shocked when he died, but it really didn't. It didn't feel like the ripple effect that you got when Pa Kent died in Smallville. Mm-hmm. That Pa Kent dying was more powerful than this. So.
Well, I think, it's kind of moving a piece back to where it was. So it's like, we've kind of been here and done this before. I disagreed with that at the time, much like the fact that Lex Luthor is now back to his scientist ways, much like Joe Chill being back as the murderer of Bruce Wayne's parents. These are old stories that were changed in the 80s, and I disagree with bringing them back because I do not like them. Grant Morrison and Jeff Johns, two of my favorite writers, are directly responsible for bringing these things back. However, I feel all these changes are for the worse. I'm not a fan of Joe Chill. I don't believe Bruce Wayne should ever know who murdered his parents. It is a nameless thug because that gives him the cause to continue to fight. Well, having Lex Luthor be a crazy mad scientist, I like Paul Cornell's Action Comics. I like what they've done with Lex, but he doesn't need to be... I want him as a businessman, this guy can make money. This is how he does. I don't want him standing next to Dr. Sirvana and all these mad scientist guys. No, I like the business Lex Luthor. And then at the same point, Ma and Pa Kent being alive.
Dr. Savant, right? That's the small one with the big head.
Dr. Sivana.
It's basically like Lex Luthor and then Mini.
Mini-Me, yeah. Yeah, and then, so again, I like Ma and Pa Kent being alive. I think they bring a grounding...
Well, even if it's
character.
just one of them alive, it brings...
Yeah, but...
I understand that...
I like them both.
I like them both, too. But even one of them alive is better than going and just taking it away.
Right.
So I think that... No, I'm in agreement with you. Joe Chill... it's one of those things where the cover to Batman Year One, where it's, he's... Bruce Wayne is a child. His parents are dead. They're there. There's nothing else.
Right.
We don't know who killed his parents, and that's part of the drive behind Batman, is because he'll never have that vengeance. And I think that was slightly I think that the way they did it in the movie,
The Dark Knight,
was fantastic for the movie.
Well, yeah. Again, in Batman, the first movie, they tried to... they don't insinuate. They straight up tell you the Joker killed his parents. Okay, that's stupid.
Yeah, no.
I like the movie, but you don't need that.
That was kind of ridiculous.
Again, in the movie, having Joe Chill be the guy that killed his parents, okay, fine, but I'd prefer his parents were killed by a nameless, faceless criminal, because everyone he puts away could be the criminal that killed his parents. So that's why I like that. Well, So, moving on from this.
We're gonna go get our matching vintage Target Superman T-shirts. And
That's fine.
We're gonna go get little red capes and run around like the kids used to do back in the day. When
there is another change that I'm not, I'm not totally against. Like, I'm fine with it, but it'll be interesting to see what they do with it. Is that him and Lois are married? Have never been married.
I'm getting one more day flashback.
Yeah. But again, this is not a one more day. This is
it's one of those things where I think
universe.
It's not, but it is. But it's not. But it shut up, God. I think this is the problem I'm having, especially with the new rejiggered 52, as I'm calling it. Whether you like that I call it that or not, I could give a shit. Is that jumping off from Flashpoint is going to be exceeding... Like, for me, I'm worrisome because Flashpoint is an alternative reality story.
Right.
And so...
Well, no, it's not. They specifically say... Barry says, this is not an alternate reality. This is our Earth. Just things have changed dramatically.
Okay, so it's our Earth, but things have changed dramatically because something was changed.
But again,
did you watch Back to the Future?
But again, the way he's talking about it, it's not like it can be changed back.
Well, then what the hell's Booster Gold doing?
He's coming with him.
Oh, so anyway, I'm not sure how it's going to go.
Yeah,
I think for readers and especially like retailers and people who are on the forums on the internet blowing this up, wanting to pick it at San Diego Con. I think that might be... Shut up.
Stupid.
Let them pick it. That's their freedom. I think that this is part of the reason why is we're jumping off of this from an alternate reality, non-alternate reality, whatever. You don't understand.
I understand.
You don't understand time like Back to the Future. I think that's the hard part for a lot of people, especially since we're jumping back to this new rejiggered 52, and it's old stuff mixed with new stuff mixed with... it's not... I don't even think DC has a 2-sentence tagline for what this is.
I think you're putting... Again,
we've
had this conversation so many
I know.
times.
You and I have had this conversation.
I think you're putting too much thought into it.
But that's the thing. I'm just wondering, because this is the thing. DC is the thought company. It makes me think. It gives me stories that
in 5 years, if they want to, it's an alternate timeline. You can cross back between Earth 1 and Earth 2 or whatever. They could do that at any point. This is what they're doing. For now, it's this is just the way it is. Just deal with it.
I know. Dude, I'm on the roller coaster. I'm going. I can't get off the roller coaster. I know.
So...
Blah, blah, oh, yeah. Stop getting irritated.
So, new costume. Okay, fine. New old costume. Okay, fine. Parents dead. All right. Not married to Lois. No, Lois is with someone else. Okay, that's fine. I'll deal with that. Because I guess the whole deal with Superman and Supergirl and Superboy, why they're wearing the clothes they are, well, not Superboy, but Superman and Supergirl, is they're more like Kryptonian, war garb. So they're much more Kryptonian in nature. And so I assume the whole point of Superman will be he will learn to become human over the course of X many years. But the point that I wanted to get to with all this is, if there's one thing that was fantastic that we lost during the original Crisis on Infinite Earths, that we've just recently gained back, that we're going to lose again more than likely, is Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how they can reconcile this Superman as being Superboy that teamed up with the Legion. Now, I guess they could. So for those who don't know, of course, very classic old Superman story that he meets the Legion of Superheroes, a group of kids from the future. They come back, they take him into the future, he had all these wacky adventures, and the Legion ended up becoming really popular characters. In the 80s, they tried to make it like that there was this phantom zones, or no, it was alternate reality Superman that he was with, and that it wasn't Superman, that it was these other characters that influenced him, and they eventually just cut him from Superman entirely. And now Jeff Johns brought that Superman and the Legion, they brought him back. So it's we're finally back to the real original Legion, and Superboy teamed up with them when he was younger. Excellent. And now they're probably going away again. No, I love the Legion. I don't want... we're going to get 3 Legion titles. They announced the Legion... that's the thing. They announced the Legion Origin book, which that Origins is going to completely ignore the fact that Superman was involved. And again, it's like,
I really hope the Wikipedia entry for DC is the new rejiggered 52. I'm going to put my vote in for that.
So we go from Legion with no Superboy to Legion with Superboy from a pocket dimension to Legion with Valor to Legion completely rebooted by 0 Hour to brand new Mark Waid Legion,
which then gets Supergirl and the Legion of Superheroes,
Supergirl, right? Which is then Final Crisis out, and then we get the real Legion back, and Superboy and the Legion back, and Awesome, and no, they're probably going.
But don't forget Mon-El.
All right, Mon-El's back, right? Because Mon-El became Valor, then it became Mon-El again,
and then now he's Mon-El with the Green Lantern ring.
Yeah, it's so good. So, no, I don't want to lose the Legion. I'm fine with everything else, but no, I want the Legion to still be there. I mean, their books are still going to be around, so it's like I hope Superman is still a part of it because that would be frustrating. But again, I'll deal with it. I'm fine with it.
We're on the roller coaster. We can't get off.
Yeah, it's just we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, San Diego's this weekend, so
I am so excited for the absolute boredom I'm going to have for Thursday through Sunday.
All you have to do is sit on Comic Book Resources, Newsarama, and Twitter, and Facebook, and Bleeding Cool, and just hit reload every 5 minutes, and you'll get way more information than I will. I'll be finding out what happens in San Diego when I come back, because I'm not going to hear any of this stuff when I'm down there.
This is true.
I'll unlikely be going to too many panels, especially Thursday and Friday. I won't be at any panels because I'm not going to be at the con.
You'll be at the zoo.
I'll be at the zoo.
And you'll be at some 80s club.
Yeah. So it's just going to be, Thursday and Friday. I'm just going to be checking my phone when I get home when I get back to the hotel for an hour trying to read all the announcements. So Brock, this is the thing I always said about Comic-Con. You find out way more by not actually being there.
Well, yeah, because, I mean, you're getting the information fed to you in a nice, timely, orderly fashion. Meanwhile, if you're at the con, you're there with the rest of the herd.
Right.
Crammed together and trying to get from one side of the convention center to the other side of the convention center.
Yeah, so one or two news stories may pop up in the next day or two, but I expect starting Wednesday and Thursday, and we'll get all the big news, which would mean next week we would normally have an extra giant, super extra duper long episode because there's probably 1,000 billion trillion things to talk about. Except Brock's not going to be here next week to record.
Oh, hell no.
So
after being here Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, my girlfriend would kill me if I came in just to record the podcast on Monday night.
So I think we're going to take another quick little 1 week break. We'll come back the following week after San Diego for a nice, long, fat, juicy post-San Diego episode. A little rundown of the con, rundown of all the big news stories. Plus it'll be
ever describe something with the word juicy. You are disgusting.
Especially if you go back and listen to, what was it, episode number 2 or 3, where I just got back from WonderCon and I had the con plague from hell.
Yeah, the con. That was hilarious.
I assume I will be in no recording mood.
You're not going to have the con. You're not going to have the con flu. You're going to have the con plague.
Well, right. Especially since I'm not going to be home till 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock on Sunday night, and have to be here next morning. I expect I will be dead anyway, so we're just gonna wait a week, record the next week. This time we're gonna probably have a 2.5 hour long episode, and there's gonna be so much stuff to talk about.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm gonna
spread that over a week or two.
I'm gonna be following the stuff. I'm gonna be following stuff on over the weekend. I'll try and post some stuff on the blog while I'm here.
Yeah.
Get some information.
I'll be on the Twitters, Ryan Higgins Ryan. Mm-hmm. Follow me on there. If you come see if you see me at the con, so come say hey.
Yeah, hopefully my RS feed thing works to let people RSS feed. RSS feed.
Yeah. It should.
But other than that, no. I mean, I expect it to be boring this weekend. A lot of people are going to be at the con. There's not going to be
you'd be surprised. Well, what I actually noticed on the weekends of the con, a lot of people come into the stores because they can't go to the con.
Yeah, this is true.
And they have that because we're not that far.
They have that con withdrawal, that depression of I'm not at the con.
Yeah.
Do you have extra tissue just in case? I can hand out extra tissue. Here you go, pal. You're not.
So you better make a lot of money because I'm going to be spending it all.
Oh, I know you're going to be spending it all.
Brock, what's my limit? Check the bank account. What was the deposit this week? All right, well, I think we got a couple quick last minute
No, we don't. I
random
talk about...
Oh, yeah, you got a thing.
Dude,
Whatever.
Man, I'm going to beat you.
Read your thing.
So, you were nice enough to let me take some comic books.
I snuffed you?
No, you were nice enough.
Oh.
Deaf bastard.
That makes more sense.
You were nice enough to let me take some comic books to give to some 2 young children that are the clients of my girlfriend.
Did I?
She cuts their hair. Yeah.
I don't remember this.
Yeah, it was out of the quarter books. You were like, whatever.
Oh, okay. That's fine.
And they gave me a thank you. They sent me a thank you card.
Excellent.
And so they, from what I hear, they already read through them all.
Dang.
And one of them wants
How old are these kids?
I don't remember. I think they're like 6 and 9 or
Nice.
something.
Now the drawing on the front of the thank you looks surprisingly like Batman Beyond with a cape.
It's Speed Demon.
So I'm going to call Marvel and DC so they can send out a cease and desist letter. Actually, Speed Demon being, of course, the Ghost Rider and Flash amalgam character from the great 1990s amalgam DC Marvel amalgam crossover. So I hope your people don't mind a lawsuit. So go ahead. Go.
Yeah, and it's the Speed Demon is the villain for the Wonder Brothers.
Nice.
But I got a thank you card. I'm actually gonna. It'll be
twins?
This will be up on the blog.
Do their powers activate?
I don't know.
Do they take forms of water and/or animals?
Dude, you need to.
Do they have a monkey?
Eat sometimes. Just somebody punch you in the face.
Does the brother get eaten by a giant dog?
What are you talking about?
Does the other one go into a wheelchair?
Huh? Nobody cares.
Wonder Twins?
I can't even talk about this nice
Wendy and
gesture
Marvin?
from these kids that gave
Jane
me a
and
thank you
Xana?
letter and drew on it, and they're all nice, and they're talking about how they want to make their own comics.
Go for it.
You're a dick.
Go for it.
Jesus. So it'll be up on my blog, but he says, "Hi, Brock. Thank you for the comics. We especially love the wizard ones because you had some wizard introduction issues."
Yeah.
I'm also drawing my own comic called Wonder Brothers. The guy on the front is Speed Demon, one of the bad guys. The person below is the older Wonder Brother, Max. I hope we can visit your store someday. Thanks, Matthew and Ben. Well, I'm glad I could help Matthew and Ben.
Cool.
Because it's always good for kids to read, especially free comic books are always good to give kids. So
Yeah.
remember, free comic book day on Monday, first Saturday in May.
Coming up?
I think I said Monday there.
No.
I don't even know.
Saturday.
I don't even care.
Saturday.
All right, so random pick.
Random pick. What's your pick, bro?
You're first.
I'm first.
Yeah, because you're holding it right in your hand.
I gotta try to remember what the plot of this book was before I recommend it. No.
Oh, no, wait. We can't even do random picks. We have to talk about War of the Green Lanterns.
Oh.
Because we haven't even talked about this, and people have been like, why aren't you talking about this? And it's technically over. And we talked nothing of it really,
Do
except for...
we want to pick that big of a spoiler right after it came out? Let's lead into the new Green Lantern book. We want to spoil it? I mean, the Aftermath stuff is just starting. We'll do it.
No, you can't put this off anymore.
Oh.
We have to do it now.
Okay, let's do this fast. Go for
War of the Green Lanterns.
War of the Green Lanterns.
So...
Big Green Lantern crossover.
Yeah.
There's a war. All the Green Lanterns become bad. Hal.
Who's the main villain?
Krona.
And what is he doing?
Krona is trying to introduce the Yellow Fear entity back into the Green Lantern, and then takes over all the Green Lanterns in order to... What is Krona trying to do? I assume restart the universe, because that's what he's always trying to do.
No, he's trying to basically take control of the Green Lantern Corps,
Right,
and
take
wipe
over the
out
Guardians.
and basically wipe out what the Guardians have been doing for thousands and thousands and thousands of years.
So the original Guardians of the Universe were these, if you've seen the Green Lantern movies, they were the little blue guys floating around in their little citadel. Krona, who was, if you've read Crisis on Infinite Earths, he was the guy that kind of created the multiverse accidentally. He was originally a Guardian, one of the race that eventually become the Guardians. In the comics, Krona is a regular humanoid-sized guy, but as millions of years have passed, the Guardians become these very small, decrepit, old-looking things. So Krona has now caught up to current-day look, and he is now looks like the Guardians. Krona is actually the Guardian in the Green Lantern movie that gets taken over by Parallax at the very beginning of the movie, but they never call him by name. No. So that's Krona, and I think that's why they did this in the comics, to make Krona look like that, because it's supposed to match up with the movie version, but they never call him by his name in the movie. So
no,
it's
you only
like,
see the broken Citadel chair.
Right. So it's like, what's the purpose of this? Anyway, so Krona's been flying around, and so, of course, the Earth-based Green Lanterns are the only ones that can resist him, because in the past, they've all been taken over by Parallax, the Yellow Fear entity, and they have built up a resistance against him, so they were able to escape. They don the various colored rings of all the different core of all the other core lanterns, and they go and kick Krona's ass.
And Mogo dies.
Yes, we discussed that a few weeks back. Mogo, poor Mogo.
And then the big news.
The big spoiler, which I totally called because I knew the cover of Green Lantern was not going to have Hal Jordan on it because they just showed that fist, and I knew that was just a placeholder cover, and they wouldn't show it if it wasn't something spoiler or special.
Yeah. Well, technically, after Krona is defeated and everyone gets their rings back.
All right.
Well, to defeat him, Sinestro dons a green ring.
All right.
Again.
All right.
After he and all the other lanterns who are trapped in the Book of Oa are drawn out of the book by Kyle Rayner.
Right.
He dons a green ring, and at the end, his yellow ring rejects him.
Right.
And the Guardians, who are now freed from the entities that have possessed them, the emotion entities, basically say, welcome back to the core, Sinestro, and Hal Jordan, F off.
Yeah, this is a long-winded way to say Hal Jordan is no longer a Green Lantern.
Yeah.
Sinestro is now a Green Lantern again.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm sure it'll last a year or 6 months, but hey, that's totally cool with me. That's fun. The Guardians are such dicks to Hal all the time. Like, if I was Hal, I'd be like, whatever, I'm done with you anyway.
Yeah.
But but no, I'm cool. I'm really excited to see what they want to do. Sinestro as a Green Lantern, again, will be really fun. It's not going to last, but they've taken the Sinestro Corps and even the Red Lantern Corps and made them less villainous as time has gone on. They're definitely not just bad guys. You see that they're as multifaceted as anyone else.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things where, like, if you look at the Sinestro Corps, and you can get a lot of this information if you read the Tales of the Corps, Blackest Night books. You'll get the backstory on some of these characters, like R.E.B.E.L.S. That's not in that one. That's in the Sinestro Tales of Sinestro Corps.
Yeah.
But like R.E.B.E.L.S, why R.E.B.E.L.S is the way R.E.B.E.L.S is,
right.
why,
well, even the background of your computer here is Bleeze, who's one of the Red Lanterns.
Which is one of the Red Lanterns. Even the cat Red Lantern, there's a backstory on.
Yeah, in Green
which
Lantern,
which is really, really good.
Yeah,
I actually really liked it.
That's fucked up.
But
Dexstar.
Yeah, but you get a lot of information on these characters, and so I don't like it when they tone down it so much, but I like it when they give us why these characters are like that. Yeah, I guess I sum it up as, I don't like Freddy Krueger. I mean, I don't like horror movies to begin with.
Sure.
But I don't like Freddy Krueger as a character. Why? He's a child molester who burns, who comes back to kill kids. Why do I care about this character? But a character like Jason, who was a kid that was picked on, fat, his grandmother was a crazy evil bitch.
Yeah.
And he dies drowning and comes back and kills people who, there's a little bit more of a backstory. Same thing with like Leatherface.
Right.
It's not necessarily them, it's their environment that they grew up in, it's
right.
the experiences that they had. So, even, and this is a stretch, but even with the, Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker stuff, even as abysmal as those first movies are, you can get why Vader is the way he is,
Sort of.
Even though they did it perfectly in the first in 4, 5, and 6. So, but no, I know what you're saying with the toning down. But War of the Green Lanterns, I honestly didn't think it was a strong Green Lantern story arc as we've had in the past.
The delays hurt it.
Yeah,
there were some
definitely.
really big delays in the issues, and that's always frustrating.
Yeah, I liked all the stuff with the Emerald Warriors and with the Green Lantern Corps, but it was, I think, the Green Lantern book that really hurt that title. So, I don't know.
That was up to John's standard. Anyway,
back at
Green Lantern
Bandcamp.
Corps done. We're gonna do a couple quick random comic picks of the week, and then we will end this episode. Yeah, leave you for 2 weeks. I'm going to recommend The Red Wing #1. Came out this past week from Image Comics. Jonathan Hickman and Nick Pitara is the artist. Jonathan Hickman is more well known as writing all sorts of cool independent books, but most probably famously for writing the current FF title, as well as the Death of the Human Torch issue of Fantastic Four and a bunch of stuff. So it's good to see he's still sticking with his indie books. I've not read too much of his other indie stuff. It was just kind of under the radar when he first came out, but I would like to check out some of them. So I figured I'd start with Red Wing, which is a new one. I'm recommending this not because I thought it was the best book of the week, but because I like to see these guys break off from Marvel and DC and do their own things from time to time. It was a decent first issue. I want to read the whole miniseries. These things tend to read better when you read the whole book. But again, they do need the support of the single issues. So it's about a kid that has access to these attack fighter, these planes that are able to go around. And there's all sorts of different these little time traveling planes. They're basically trying to save their universe by going through time and changing things. So of course in the first issue he's going through and he's flipping. There's some really great art sequences. Maybe why I like this of kind of things happening as he's traveling through time. There's a couple of really cool shots as. It almost looks kind of Akira-ish, Brock. I'm going to show you this page, and again, it's like page 5 or 6. You see this single page spread of all these kind of funky panels laid out as this person is falling through time and being like disintegrated.
Yep.
So of course, his ship is destroyed, going through one of these time portal things, and he crash lands in the middle of this Aboriginal ancient civilization. He comes wandering out of the jungle, and they're all pointing spears at him. So, I'm not going to say it's the most original title I've ever read in my life, but it was a cool, very cool first issue. Jonathan Hickman's a really good writer, and again, I kind of like these little side off projects these creators do to kind of get away from the standard superhero stuff. We do talk lots of superhero stuff on this, especially lots of Marvel and DC, but we do read lots of other stuff as well. So, Red Wing, check it out.
Yeah, I think I'll wait for the trade to check it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, pick up #1 if you want. If you like it, keep going with it.
Yeah, it's only 4 issues.
I do have to agree with you. Last week's your Heroes for Hire,
I told you,
was really, really good.
Are you for hire?
I can't read the book. Like, I was reading the book, and every time she said, "Are you for hire?" I started laughing.
Hello, hero. Are you for hire?
Yeah, I started laughing my effing ass off. Like, every time. And she says it so much in that book. It's like...
Yeah.
So it's funny. But my random pick of the week, oh God. You know what? I'm going to go with...
I was prepared.
You were prepared. Not. I'm not. I'm actually going to go with Rebels.
Oh, yeah?
The series just ended, right?
Yeah, a couple months ago.
Yeah, and it's...
A couple trades out.
It's basically... It has about 3 or 4 trades. The last one isn't out yet. But it's kind of a side... It's not really a Legion story, but it's a Legion spin-off.
Yeah, it was actually read, was it Invasion a little while ago, which is where Viril Dox and Legion come from.
There's that Invasion book that I need to read that somebody hasn't ordered.
I'll get you on.
You say that every time.
But it's a spin-off. Well, it is a spin-off of Legion of Superheroes. In theory, this is how the Legion originally starts. Mm-hmm. Is Viril Dox, who is Brainiac's grandson? Son? No,
it's Brainiac's.
Brainiac's, adopted.
It's something,
son. Yeah.
But no, I really enjoyed the series.
Well, what's funny, because you mentioned this along with Heroes for Hire, I mean, he basically is a hero. He's a mercenary
or security
for hire.
Yeah,
right.
But no, I really enjoyed the book. It's fun. Follows really along the Legion line where they give you a little tagline for who the characters are, which I like. Because
there's a lot of characters.
Big character books.
Well, you know what's funny I like about this book too? It really took the Blackest Night storyline and played with it for a long time.
Yeah, there was like 2 issues where...
it was more than those 2 issues. The whole ramification of the Black Lanterns attacking spread out for that whole first arc. Because they ended up coming back, and because the Black Lanterns came when... Was it the Dominators? I don't remember who they were fighting, but they had shut off. And these Black Lanterns
close up the world. Yeah,
right. The Black Lanterns were basically able to totally go in and just to start destroying crap. And they're like, oh, we could. So it wasn't just like this little side thing. They used the Black Lanterns from Blackest Night to actually move their own title forward, which is you don't see that very often.
No, they did a really, really good job there. And then what was it? Actually, it ties in with Supergirl and the Legion of Superheroes because when she comes back from that Wade Legion, it actually coincides with what happens in the first story arc, Rebels.
Right.
So it's pretty cool to see the kind of Rebels interacts very well with the rest of like some DC universe with the Black Lanterns, with Supergirl, and
well, they've also a couple of my favorite characters also Rebels regulars. It was Adam Strange. He's in a lot of it. I'm not a huge Captain Comet fan, but I do like Captain Comet. He was in that. Starfire.
Yeah,
was in a lot of issues. I'm not a huge Lobo fan, but again, his interaction with characters like Starfire and Adam Strange is a lot of fun.
He crossed over with Green Lantern and Rebels really well too.
Yeah.
So I think Rebels is a good kind of cornerstone book where you can branch off from or come into and really enjoy it.
Yeah.
So
that was Tony Bedard too, correct?
Yeah,
is that correct?
Bedard, Clark, and St. Aubin.
Yeah, the artist Clark. I can't remember his first name. Andy Clark reminds me a lot of like Frank Quietly. He has a very cool art style. He wasn't on the book for very long, but he has a very, very cool art style.
Yeah.
And Tony Bedard's done a lot of the Green Lantern work as well.
And then there's Claude St. Aubin, I think, did the rest of it.
Yeah, he may have been the colorist or the inker. I'm not sure.
Scott Hanna is labeled as the next one.
Okay.
Let's see. Hold on. Andy Clark is artist, and Claude St. Aubin and Scott Hanna are penciler and inkers.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I guess they're both.
He did some background or fill-in or something. So yeah.
Well,
Rebels is a great book.
Yeah, the book carries through. I mean, it's a very, very similar art style all throughout, even though it's different artists.
Yeah. They changed up the art towards the end, but they do a good job of keeping it in that same style. But yeah, Andy Clark, if you like Frank Quietly, check this guy's artwork out. It's very, like, early Frank Quietly. It's not quite as refined, but he does a great job with it.
Yeah, the first collection was called The Coming of Starro. Yeah. This one's not volumized, so I'll make sure to give you the reading list.
I will say, as much as I like the book, I do not like what they do with Starro in the book. Starro is one of my favorite villains, for those of you unaware. He's a classic JLA villain, actually, in the very first appearance. He's a giant starfish that attacks people. It's actually one of my favorite, or that probably is my favorite, of the Morrison JLA books as well. The issue with Starro, because it also has Daniel from Sandman in it. It does. I love Starro. He's just a giant starfish that throws little starfishes on people's faces and takes them over. I love that shit. And they kind of give a new backstory to Starro, and they kind of give him, like there's a bunch of Starros. There's like a guy controlling them all. And I'm like, no, I don't like that. I just want Starro to be the giant starfish. But it's okay.
But look at it this way. I mean, some people like the big giant starfish aspect of it. You know,
that's a DC thing. Goes back to this DC and Marvel thing, right?
Yeah, but it's also one of those things where if you look at Aliens, right? I mean, it's pretty much just cutting out all the middle stuff. It's Starro throws it on you and you're possessed. It's the invasion of the body snatchers.
Right.
But here, I think I enjoyed what I enjoyed what they did with it, where they gave kind of somebody had the ability to, overtake Starro in the sense of he was strong-willed enough, and he did it.
And they could later just say, and the Starros get rid of him, and now the
exactly,
Starros
So it's
I can edit out that part of the continuity, and Starro is still just a big fucking starfish.
It can be rejiggered.
It can be. All right. On that note, we're going to go ahead and end this episode. We will be back in 2 weeks.
With a giant
juicy
episode 17.
Yeah.
Giant size.
Round. I will be at San Diego Comic-Con on Saturday and Sunday. If you see me, come say hello. That would be nice. People don't talk to me.
Take pictures with your favorite podcast guy if you see him. Post them up on the internet.
Pictures of me going falling asleep on you. We will be back in 2 weeks.
If you want
to contact us, you can always shoot us an email at thecomicconspiracy@geekbox.net. Probably not be responding to too many emails in the next couple of weeks, but we'll get on that soon. You can always find me on the Twitter, Ryan Higgins Ryan. Barack is not on the Twitter, but he does have a blog.
Yes, it's conspiratorblog, or conspiratorbrock.blogspot.com.
You can go on there. Have you posted any new reading lists recently?
I've just been attaching the reading list for Why Last Man and Preacher with my last 2 recommendations because those are full.
Yeah, numbered
and everything. But I figure it's just easier to have
an easy way out.
Yeah, easy way out.
But you don't want to collect every Superman trade from the last 25 years in chronological order.
If you've seen that
I can imagine. I've sold them. It's a nightmare.
There is no numbering. I posted the Superman one as best as I could. Please forgive me if there's anything wrong in there. I apologize, but God, there's so much fucking Superman.
If you find yourself in Sunnyvale, California, you can always come visit the store. It's 115-A East Fremont Avenue, Sunnyvale, California, 94087. You can also drop by the store and say hello. You can send us packages here if you want.
Thanks.
I don't know what
send us packages.
I don't know what you would send us, but if you want to send us stuff.
Legion Archives Volume 8.
Legion Archive Volume 8. And they have now announced Legion Archive Volume 13 is in this most recent preview, so it looks like I don't have to find those issues after all.
Oh, and for those of you curious, there is a promo coming out, a DC promo coming out this week for the 52.
The new 52.
It's just a small little solicitation thing.
Well, it's a big. It has the first 6 pages of Justice League.
Oh, wow.
It has all the final art and solicitation info for all the different books. It has preview pages. It has all sorts of crap. That's going to be awesome.
It's free.
It's free.
Pick it up.
And every store should have hundreds of copies because it was matched to like 5 times our order number of Flashpoint number 1. So we're getting 400 copies. I think that's it. If you like this episode, you can find more episodes on the Geekbox, www.geekbox.net. You can go on forums.geekbox.net and talk to us on there. You can go on iTunes, give us a couple 5-star recommendations. Those are always fun.
If you're on my blog, hit me up with some +1s.
You're on the G. Are you done with Google Plus yet? I think
no, it's different.
Oh, is it +1? Because it is Google. It's owned by Google.
It's owned by Google, so you just click on the +1 and it's 22 people.
Yeah.
Plus it's it's not the like button. There is a and dislike, but this is kind of it helps for searches and stuff like that. So it's one of those things where
they're just incorporating Blogspot into Google Plus. So, all right,
Blogspot works.
Yeah. Again. If anyone's going out to San Diego, hope you have a good time.
Get Higgins drunk.
Yeah.
Get Higgins drunk.
We will see everyone in a couple weeks. And Brock is.
I hate this.
Did we miss something?
Well, it's not only going to be a San Diego Con double-sized next episode, but we're going to be talking Cap.
Oh, Captain America too. Yeah, Captain America movie comes out this week, which I will not be seeing probably till the following week anyway, because I'll be in San Diego. I'm not going to go see
Same here, because I'll be stuck here at work.
Yeah.
So I'll be dead tired by the time I get home.
I'm sure we can. If we don't have time for Cap, we can always leave Cap for the week after. So.
Dude, it's going to be a 2.5-hour episode, man. We'll have plenty of time. We don't need this inventoried list of your freaking timeline at San Diego.
So at 12:04, I ran into Joss Whedon in the bathroom.
Yeah, if he starts doing that, I will punch him in the face.
Hello, Joss Whedon. All right, so I guess we'll talk to everyone in a couple weeks. Again, if you're going to the con, have fun and come see me if you can. All right.
Be safe. Take your vitamin C so you don't get the con plague.
Yeah.
We're out.
Goodbye.